One of the biggest things that I think holds people back from creating content on YouTube, becoming a YouTuber, or really creating video content in general is how long editing takes, the mystery behind it, not feeling like they're good at it, like whatever the scenario is. So today I want to take you behind the scenes and show you how I edit videos currently in my business, from filming to editing and all the things in between, and a lot of time-saving tips, because I've been editing videos for a while and I've learned a few things along the way. Hey, howdy, hey, y'all. Welcome back to my channel. My name's Jessica Stansberry and I am pumped that you are here. If you're looking for all things passive income / making money in your sleep, this is the channel for you. So you need to go ahead and hit subscribe. Okay. Future Editing Jessica here, popping in to tell you about today's sponsor. So before we get into this video about editing, you're gonna learn a lot about video editing, but if you wanna learn more, I have like the perfect sponsor for you, and that is Skillshare. So Skillshare is an online learning platform where you can take classes from experts all over the world in a ton of different fields of study and interest. So as you're watching this, if you want to learn more about Final Cut Pro and learn how to use it more, there is an awesome class on Skillshare by Ali Abdal, a fellow YouTuber, where he teaches you how to use Final Cut Pro. Like as a beginner, how do you use it? How do you edit? All the things. Skillshare is curated specifically for learning, so there's like no ads, no distractions, and they're always launching new premium classes so you can follow your creativity wherever it goes, regardless of your existing knowledge. For the first 1,000 of my subscribers to click the link below in the description, Skillshare is going to give you a 1-month free trial so you can start exploring your own creativity today. Okay, so back to the video. This is a really good one. It's actually really funny that I'm filming this video today because I had this video on my calendar. It's been there for weeks. I knew it was what I wanted to film because I know this is something that holds people back from creating video content, getting started on YouTube, whatever. But just this morning, I was looking for video editors and also talking to my team about possibly rearranging the structure so that someone on my team could handle video editing and whatever else. And the reason is that in September, now that my kids are back to school, now that things are back to normal with me and my work schedule, which I'm praying they stay that way because this mama can't handle another like virtual year or even a virtual week for that matter. But anyway, now that things are kind of back to normal for me and I have more time to work, I really want to focus on starting to put out 2 videos a week here on my channel again, rather than just the one that I've done for the last like year or so. And in all honesty, I can handle editing 1 video per week. Like that is not a problem for me. I don't feel like it takes over my calendar and I can't get other things done. But when I like try and do more than 1 a week, when I try and edit for 2 videos a week, about 2 weeks in, I start to lose my marbles. And I'm a big believer for all business owners that you shouldn't be doing things that someone else could do. You shouldn't be doing things that are not things only you can do. And I can tell you right now that I'm the only one who can film these videos, but I am for sure not the only one who can edit them. And yes, I might be picky and I might want things a certain way, but it's teachable skills and people who already have those skills can handle it just fine. So anyway, it's just kind of funny that like today is the day I'm filming this video because it's very like prominent up in my noggin, you know? But here's the dealio. I have spent a lot of years editing my own videos. I had a video editor for a while a few years ago, backed off of that, had somebody who was just like kind of clean cutting my footage, and then I would do all the like sprucing up to it, took back over, and now I'm getting ready to hire a video editor again. But here's the thing. Most people getting started with YouTube content, getting started with video content, are not gonna have the budget or even the know-how to hire a video editor full-time or to edit all of their videos. And I get that. I didn't either. I mean, when I started on YouTube, there was no world where I could have afforded somebody to edit my videos. Like, None. So after years and years of editing videos on my own, I have some tips and tricks to help you save time. And I also want to show you my current kind of workflow with editing a YouTube video. Some of the things I'm going to talk about today are newer. Some of them are, things I've done for years and years, but let's just get into it. I am currently using Final Cut Pro to edit my videos, and I was a Premiere girl for years. And then back in December of last year, December or January, I got myself and my assistant Laura new M1 Mac Minis for our studio that we had at the time, and I also got my new Sony a7S III camera that I'm filming on right now. And with both of those changes, what happened was that Premiere Pro wasn't running well on the M1 Max at the time. They might have, worked out that relationship, but at the time, Premiere Pro was not running well on M1 Max because it wasn't developed for M1 chip. But two, and kind of coupled with that, in getting this big fancy camera, the file sizes are just astronomically larger than the camera I had in the past. And to be honest, I don't want to degrade the quality, because part of the reason I paid for such a beast of a camera is for the quality. So we were having to edit really large files from this beast of a camera on a software that wasn't running well on our computers. So we switched to Final Cut Pro because Final Cut Pro is Apple, and they're gonna let it work well. And I was amazed at how much quicker I could edit footage, even import footage, export footage, scrub footage, all the things. So I am currently using Final Cut Pro, and I would tell you that if you're on a Mac, if you're on a PC, I have no help for you. I don't know what's best. But if you're on a Mac and you are using Premiere Pro or something of that nature and it just isn't working well for you, you may want to look into Final Cut Pro because it's literally made for Macs. But also, I used iMovie for years and there's absolutely nothing wrong with it. It just has some creative constraints that I didn't want to work around anymore. So use what works for you, but I'm currently using Final Cut Pro. Other switch that I made during kind of all of that mess was to edit and store footage on an external hard drive. So I actually never did this before. So the way that we store files and manage files in my business is that we use Dropbox, and then Dropbox is synced on everybody's desktop or laptops or whatever. So if I need to share a file with my team, they have access to the same Dropbox folders on their desktop and everything works well. But it still takes up space on your computer for you to put things in Dropbox and use the desktop version. So very quickly I was realizing that, I was filling up my computer space with video files and editing files specifically. And poor Laura, I got her not the very basic M1, maybe it was the very basic M1 Mac Mini, but it doesn't have a ton of storage, and so she could literally only store one video and one project at a time on her computer, or it would lock down. So we made the switch to editing off of all external hard drives, and I use the LaCie hard drives. Is it LaCie or Lacey? I think it's LaCie. Anyway, I use these bad boys. Laura has one, I have one. I will probably get another. I love them. They are a hard drive, not a steady state drive. So, you probably shouldn't drop them and stuff, but this is what we use to edit off of and store footage. So the only purpose of this is to edit off of, so we can keep the storage really empty, and Final Cut Pro doesn't have to struggle with storing the project files and things like that on this external hard drive like it does on our computers. I will honestly say that if you're struggling with editing footage and it going really slow and things just bogging down, your computer freezing up, whatever, I would highly suggest getting an external hard drive to edit off of. Now, it's not hard to do that. All you do in Final Cut is to create the editing library on the external hard drive, and then it will edit off of that, and there's nothing going on with your computer's hard drive in the background. I have always wanted to be able to edit on my laptop, but I have a 13-inch, 11-inch. I have one of the smaller MacBook Pros, and it's a little older. It's probably a 2016, 2017 model. It runs really great, But ever since I switched to even the camera before this one with 4K files and all of that jazz, there was just like no way. Even scrubbing the footage, it was slowing down. But if I will use my external hard drive with my laptop, I can actually edit in that way. So to kind of like round up these two things, part of the point of this video is to give you time-saving tricks. And if your process is running really slow, using a program that works best with your operating system, with your computer, like whatever, and editing from an external hard drive is going to help a ton. The third thing that I recently had to start doing, but also could help you save time if that is the case for you. All of these like first things are footage and software related, but with this monstrosity of a camera and monstrosity of files that it produces, I did have to start using proxy files to edit in my most efficient way. Now, creating the proxies takes forever, whether you're doing that in Premiere or in Final Cut Pro if you have really big files, but I have a system down where that's not that big of a deal. I'm usually not filming and then turning right around and needing to edit right then. So I'll tell you what I do as I'm creating these proxy files in just a second. But if your editing process is going really slow, you're having a lot of scrubbing, you've switched softwares, you're doing it on an external hard drive, and you're using like 4K footage, so it's just like much larger footage, then this is probably a really good solution for you. Just do a Google search of how to do proxy files on whatever editing software you're using. Now, proxy files, what that means is that I upload my full files into the software, but then it will create a copy of those really big files at a much lower resolution. And then when I'm editing, I will edit with the proxy. So as I'm editing, as I'm scrubbing footage, as I'm looking through things aren't like jumpy, and things run really, really smoothly. I don't have any trouble with anything freezing up because the files I'm actually editing are very small. Then what happens is on export, it actually exports those same edits on the larger file. So it kind of matches the two. You edit with the proxy, it kind of holds on to that, bigger one. And then when you export, it exports all the changes you made to the proxy to the big one, and you're good to go. Okay, so that is how I edit currently as far as software and hardware and files go, and some of my best time-saving tips, because honestly, if you're bogging down in that process, nothing else I'm going to tell you in the rest of the video is going to help you. All right, so next we have to talk about this mouse. Now listen, I am an Apple mouse user, Magic Mouse, from the beginning. I've never used another mouse. I don't think I've had a non-Apple mouse in 10 years. No, more than that, like 15 years. I legitimately don't think I have personally, on my day-to-day usage, ever used a mouse that wasn't Mac in 15 years. But I saw this mouse being raved about, okay? And I guess the benefit, one, it's ergonomic, so you're like this rather than just flat on your Magic Mouse or whatever. All the things, don't care about that. Although I will say, I feel like my wrist is less fatigued using it, so yay for that. But it has a bunch of buttons. So that is the part where everybody's like, get this mouse, it will change your life for editing and things like that. So it has a crap ton of buttons. It has these buttons over here. It has this scrolly wheel. So on a Magic Mouse where you swipe over to go over or back and forth on a timeline, you can use the scrolly wheel to do that. It has obviously a normal scrolly wheel, your two regular buttons, and then it has this button. Then this little part here where your thumb rests also clicks. So it has 1, 2, 3, 4 customizable buttons. Now, how does that have anything to do with editing, you ask? Well, it's also programmable per program you're using it in. So in Final Cut Pro, I can have these buttons do certain things that I'm doing on the regular. So for instance, I have this one of these side buttons where it cuts my footage. So I don't have to even do a keyboard shortcut. I can just hit my thumb and as long as the little marker is on the right place in the timeline, it will cut the footage. So one of my big time-saving tips, just for anybody with this mouse or not, is to learn the keyboard shortcuts of the things you do most in your editing software. So what I did was took those keyboard shortcuts that I use the most and programmed them into the buttons on the mouse. So for me, it's much easier to just smack that button with my thumb and cut a clip rather than, taking both hands off my mouse, going to my keyboard and doing like Command Shift B or whatever it was. So I will say this mouse has been a time-saving trick all on its own. And whether or not you're editing videos, if you're using a program that you're constantly using some keyboard shortcuts on, it might be a great mouse for you too. So when I was a graphic designer, Photoshop was like my life, So being able to program in certain keyboard shortcuts or shortcuts in general into this mouse would have saved me time there too. But like I say, mouse or not, learn your keyboard shortcuts. Learn what actions you are completing most of the time and learn your keyboard shortcuts, okay? So create shortcuts either on the keyboard or on the mouse to do the things you're doing most often in your editing process. Another thing that I do to save time and with my editing process is to come up with graphics and templates and things like that I am just using on the regular, so I'm not constantly hunting for new things as I'm editing my videos. So an example of that is that I have this like work less, live more bubble created, and it just goes into my editing file. So if I say that, I can pop it up on the screen. I also have the mouth pop, so when something pops on the screen like this, I have that already in there. I have mouse clicks, so if I'm like switching to my screen and you hear the little clicky noise, that is one that I use all the time. I use the same transitions, the same titles, things like that, so that I'm not wasting time going and looking for the elements that I need. And honestly, this may take you a while and it's fine, but once you kind of have a style you like and you can, nail down what you're gonna wanna do in every video, go ahead and just make a folder of all of your editing elements. So in Dropbox and on my external hard drive, so it's really easy and accessible for me, even if I do plug my external hard drive into my laptop, I have a folder called editing elements. It has my intro music, it has my sound effects, it has other music I might wanna use, it has all of these graphics that I'm using on the regular, and for me, this footage on this camera is great straight out of the camera. I obviously have my settings in a certain way that I enjoy it, but I still like to increase the contrast quite a bit on my footage so that the blacks pop more and there's more definition in like my face and the things around me. So instead of doing that clip by clip by clip or video by video, I actually went ahead and made an effect that I can, click on every single time and it will automatically make those changes because they're not different. Even if my white balance is all messed up, the contrast level that I want is the same, and I can adjust the white balance level as I go. So if we're going along in the process, I've unloaded all of my footage onto my external hard drive. I'll upload it into Final Cut Pro. I'll go ahead and put my editing assets folder in that same project or event in Final Cut Pro, and then I will go ahead and make the proxy files. So again, this takes a while. So I do all of this either the night before I'm going to edit or at least a few hours before I'm going to edit, and I just leave it running on my computer. So it might be my plan to go get my kids at 3 o'clock and then come back and edit this video. That's rarely ever the plan, but let's just say for this example. So I might go ahead and start this processing the proxy process now, and that way by the time I get home from the kids, it's definitely done and I can make this work. For the most part, I do it at night. So I'll go ahead and unload the footage, start the proxy thing the night before I know I'm going to edit. That way it has plenty of time. So after that, I drag everything that I need, so all the footage clips, into the Final Cut Pro project, and I go ahead and apply any changes that need to happen to the clip as a whole to all of the clips that I drag down. What that looks like for me generally is increasing the volume on all the clips. If I have my volume up too much on this camera, it gets very echoey because I'm kind of talking into a window. There's a window like right behind the camera, and so it can bounce off and get a little echoey if the camera is capturing too high level of an audio, but also it can get very peaky because I tend to like talk kind of quietly and then get really excited about something. And so I generally keep my volume level during the recording down a little bit, and I increase it in post. The other thing that happens to all the clips, again, is that contrast and color correction that will happen. So for me with this camera, it has auto white balance, and that's definitely what I leave on. But as you can see, even in this video, it's kind of a partly cloudy day. And so sometimes it's really bright and like the sun, so orange, is like coming in the house. And then sometimes it's a little darker and it's not as much like bright yellow light coming in the house. So what I do is I wait until the lighting is like I want it, and then I'll lock in my white balance on the camera so that I'm probably not gonna have to change it too much throughout the editing process. The colors might change a little, the lighting might change a little, but for the most part, it's like I want it, rather than having my camera adjust every time the sun comes out. And then some clips are super, super yellow and orange, some are like bluish, and I have to like adjust that all the way through. I don't care enough to sit here and do that. You know, like I'm not creating cinematic masterpieces. I'm creating information that's gonna help y'all. And so I just need it to look decent and to move on with my business. So the next thing I'll do is color correct, which I already have an effect made for. So I just hit that, it applies it to everything, and we're good to go. Now, a mark that I think a lot of people miss in trying to save time editing is the way they film. You have got to come up with a way that you film that makes the editing process easier. I think Meredith Marsh is the one who says that after she does a good clip, like it doesn't need any edits, she will clap. And so it will send a spike in the audio file. So you'll be able to see that in your editing, that there was a spike. And she'll know that anything, you know, before that up until the next clap was a good clip. And she edits backwards. That would drive me bananas. So I don't do that. But what I will do is if I mess up, so if I'm like sitting here talking and I get tongue-tied, I will take a small pause so that again in the editing, I just did it there by the way, but so that again in the audio file, when I'm viewing this, I can see that there is like audio, 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 pause, audio, 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 pause. And then, depending on how you work best, you could go through and just cut out all those pauses first and then go back to the beginning and really edit the video. Or as you're editing from beginning to end, you know that when a pause happens, you need to cut out all of that space. There are other ways to do this as well. So I know people who every time they mess up, they start a new clip on the camera, like they hit end on record and record again. That would drive me nuts too because I mess up so much. Like I'm constantly like flubbing up my words or like burping or sneezing or the phone rings or, you know, whatever the scenario is. So for me, what works best for me is that I just take a small pause every time I mess up, and it's easy to see in that waveform of like where it needs to be chopped out. Now it's not exact because like I messed up a little bit before that, right? So we don't really know what part of that needs to be cut. That's the part we have to listen to, but it at least speeds it up a little bit because we do know those are cuts. So come up with some way to figure that out. Now I edit from beginning to end and do everything along the way. So again, some people will go through, do a rough edit, cut out all the junky parts, and then go back through and add graphics, noises, whatever, to the footage. I do it all from the beginning to the end. So I just move through the timeline so that I know wherever I'm at, everything before that is completely edited and I don't have to go back through it. But that is complete personal preference. But the time-saving tip here is really figuring out your strategy for understanding where a cut needs to happen, where things need to happen, and how you can film in a way that makes editing easier. So by having a set of motion graphics that I use all the time, having a set of sound effects that I use all the time, I go through and edit my footage and I don't really have to like go and look for anything. Everything's there in the project and I can just pull it into the timeline where I need it. Something I have recently started doing that has helped tremendously is editing in 2x speed. Now, let me give a disclaimer here. I have tried this before in Premiere where I speed up the clip, like I'm gonna speed up the clip here to 2x and I'm going to watch it in 2x as I edit, okay? But when I would go back and change it to like normal speed, the audio and video alignment or sync would just be shot. So I don't know if that's a bug that's been worked out with Premiere Pro, but for me, it didn't work in Premiere. It does work for me though in Final Cut. So in my editing process, what happens first, again, is that I import it all, I adjust the volume, I adjust the color on anything that needs to happen on all the clips as a whole before I start chopping them up, because if I start chopping them up, it's gonna take forever to do. And then I speed up the whole project. Before I've made any cuts, I just speed it all up to 2x so that when I'm editing, I'm watching back in 2x, I can still see where any breaks happened, like in the audio forms, to make those cuts, but I also can watch it back 2 times quicker than I could before, and the graphics and everything go where they need to go. It doesn't matter that I'm talking faster, everything still happens when it needs to happen. And then when I get done, when I'm completely okay with the clip, I will select everything in the timeline and slow it back down to normal. So it literally doubles my editing speed because I'm not having to watch everything back at 1x and then stop, make the cuts, add the graphics, add the sound effects, whatever. I'm watching it at 2x, doing those things, watching it at 2x, doing those things, and then at the end, I slow it all back down before I export. So depending on the software you use, you could definitely do something like that, but I would say try it out on a small clip, try it out on a smaller video so that you don't get to the end and you're really frustrated because you just edited all of this and then, you know, some kind of glitch happened or whatever. But for me on a Mac in Final Cut Pro, it works just fine. All right, so that is how I edit my YouTube videos. Again, I am going to be offboarding this particular task from my plate because I'm going up to 2 videos a week and it's not something I can handle. But editing a video takes me so much less time now than it did 4 years ago or even 2 years ago. And as I learn things that save time, I make sure I implement them into my editing process. Like for instance, if I'm editing a clip where I'm also needing there to be like a screen recording above that. So you'll see a lot of these types of videos from me when I'm talking about my analytics. So I'll show like my analytics, but I also am on the video and the clips need to line up so that, you know, what I'm saying actually matches what's on the screen. I couldn't figure out how to cut both the video of me talking and the screen recording clip at the same time. And so I was having to like cut, delete, and it felt like it was a waste of time. So I did a quick Google search and there is a command inside of Final Cut Pro that allows you to cut all clips at the marker. All of them. So if you had 7 clips lined up for whatever reason on top of each other and you have your little marker there, you can hit a command and it will cut them all at the same point. And I was like, that is life-changing. The command was a little awkward and one that I was having a hard time remembering, like the keyboard command. So I changed it to Command X, and I put a sticky note here on my computer that says Command X, cut all clips, so that I can remember if I'm editing a video like that, that's a keyboard shortcut that I need to use because it saves me so much time. So as you edit, you'll learn some things that save time. Hopefully this helped you start on the right path of some time-saving things that can really help you. If you have any questions about video editing as a whole or, you know, my YouTube process or anything like that, let me know in the comments below. And until next time, bye y'all.